All righty.
All righty, there you go. There's the hat.
There's
Awesome.
the hat.
Yeah, we're recording. I don't know if Mike is going to be able to join us. He's having so many problems. He says that Riverside is finally coming up for him, so he might join us like in mid conversation here. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll all work out.
Yeah, I'll text him real quick.
See if the Riverside gods are with us, huh?
Exactly. I'm going to text him real quick. We've got it now. We've got it now. Pop in whenever you can. Well, it's good to, I guess we're officially on air, Ron. This isn't live, obviously. No worries. This is as live as you can be, though, as far as pre-recordings go. Thank you so much. Again, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I don't know if you remember. I'm probably not. You've spoken to so many different people. This is not your first time, not your second time, not your third time. This is the fourth time that I have had the honor of speaking with you.
Really?
Going back to 2014, actually.
Uh-huh.
So I have this pull up.
Uh-huh.
That one. I have to show it off to our viewers. I have your nice little notes there. That was when my fiance and I were the hosts of the podcast. Her name is Bridget. She says hello.
Hello, Bridget.
And Patrick and Bridget, great to get to know you both, and thanks. This was signed by Ron Morehead, July 31st, 2014.
Wow, where was I?
Oh my gosh. You know what? This was an online interview.
Oh,
this was
okay.
this was a courtesy on your behalf. You sent this to us, so we appreciate that so much.
Okay.
Yeah, one of several books written by you. Do you find yourself?
I've written 3. That's all, only 3.
Well, wow, geez, only 3?
That's enough.
That's enough. Do you enjoy the writing process? I mean, before we get into talking about obviously the topic at hand, Sasquatch and Bigfoot, do you enjoy writing? Is that something that you enjoy the process of?
Well, I do if I've got a passion for it. I mean, if I get a certain thing in my head, I want to write about it, then I do. But otherwise, it's a lot of research when you. Now, the first book that you got, I didn't have to research that because it was my chronicle. What I was doing. It was easy just to write it. When you get into quantum Bigfoot and you get into this last book I wrote, it takes a lot of homework, a lot of
absolutely.
working to get the science behind it. Yeah. Because that's what I intend to do with all my stuff. Except when I do get into a little ideology, but that's just because that's where it leads me,
right?
Science, and then you get to the theory, and then you get your. Anyway, that's what I got now. My theory.
Your theory, right? Now, do you have, like artists? They say that, or musicians, all of their creative pieces of work, it's like their children. They can't choose a favorite. Can you choose a favorite of your books? Is there one that like kind of is closest to you, closest to your heart, or you have the same feeling for all of them?
Well, it's pretty much the same feeling. I do enjoy the quantum book because that took me 2-3 years to write, and it's really got the quantum thinking about it.
Yes.
Quantum physics, and but the last book it just kind of cleans up a few more things. Bigfoot Unveiled.
Yes.
I get more into how they disappear and the science behind how they could disappear, and I pretty much affirm that the ones I dealt with anyway have to have a human component to them, and I mean not just a human component, but they are part human, and that's
are part human.
That's what I've affirmed within my research, and I got the science behind it.
Excellent. If you don't mind, I am going to quote something from one of your books here, because I'd like you to elaborate and expound on it a little bit. I love some of this. This is taken directly from your website.
Okay.
You put forth the question: so, how does quantum physics relate to spirituality and Bigfoot? That's something that is, again, Mike and I talk about quite often. We
Hmm.
feel like we're very spiritual people. We believe in the quote unquote paranormal. Um, do you care to elaborate on how quantum physics relates to both spirituality and Bigfoot?
Well, they're synonymous. Oh, Bigfoot thing.
Synonymous.
Well, quantum physics, as Tesla said, what one man calls God, another one calls the laws of physics,
Hmm.
quantum physics. And you really get into what quantum physics is, and Ryan, because I was raised, we're all spiritual beings. I mean, whether you like it or not, you are. Because
Hmm.
there's two parts to us. There's the physical part, which is going to die, but we've got the ethereal part, which is our consciousness, our soul, our who we really are. We're not just a body carrying around something like that. We're something like that entering bodies.
Right.
I say bodies plural because wasn't raised this way, but I believe in multiple embodiments now. Because we're on this planet basically to have the experience, and how you respond to the experience will determine a lot of things in your future. I say your future, not your body's future, but your etherical value and where you're going to go. Because if you don't respond properly to issues put in front of you in this lifetime, you've got to learn. And you've got to learn through love and compassion for everything and care about other people. And that's not just spiritual, but that's really what's going to elevate your vibration, because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. At the most minute level, we are energy vibrating on a frequency. And Einstein even said, if you find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter.
Hmm.
It's pretty important. Physicists, he's established that in mathematics or physics. So if Bigfoot, okay, if he can reach the vibrational frequency with his vocal mechanism, because they have an expansive, we don't know the scope of his vocal mechanism. We just know it's much more expansive than what ours is. It can reach
Hmm.
things that we can't even, because we just record on cassette tapes, then with no way to analyze how high or how low they can go. But I'm pretty sure they were using infrasound on me a couple times up there, because I just got froze, and
Right.
me and another guy too. And it happened to me out in the woods. And anyway, it's I think they can use infrasound. But if you got if they can create the frequency to change their matter, who we are, your matter, into energy, you can manipulate the matter. If you got the right frequency, and
So, how
that's
did that?
that's mind
How,
blowing.
oh my gosh! Exactly. It's enough to kind of your mind spins when you're laying down in bed at night. You're just a lot to wrap your mind around for sure.
Well, it's me on a book somewhere, it's
Yeah.
me in the physics, because Dr. Paul Dirac, he got the Nobel Prize in 1933 for antimatter.
Hmm.
And antimatter is a direct exchange between matter and energy. And energy and matter, they're interchangeable. It's just a matter of frequency.
Hello, good to see you.
There's Mike.
Sorry about that.
There's Mike. Mike
It's
popped up.
time to go to the new laptop and get rid of
There
this
he
old
Yes.
one.
is.
But anyway, if these things can create the frequency to get on the vibrational frequency of energy, they could change their matter into energy. So, like I say, Paul Dirac got the Nobel Prize for antimatter in 1933 for the direct exchange between matter and energy.
Hmm.
And that was established by CERN in 2012 with the Hadron Collider, when they changed a particle into energy. Because you don't see energy, you can detect it though. So that's where I think a lot of these cloaking things come in. People see it being changed, and are able to see parts of it. And some people's visual range is a little different than others, but mostly for the human race, human species, our frequency for light, and that's everything's frequency.
Hmm.
Frequency for light is 430 to 770 terahertz, and everything else outside of that frequency you don't see normally. Now, animals, some of them can see outside of that. Camera's lens sometimes will reach outside of that a little bit. Sometimes a camera will pick up an orb when your eyes don't. But that's where it get into all that stuff. How do they disappear? Well, they I think they have somehow managed to find the frequency that can change their matter into energy, and they were cloaked right out. And that would also give the answer to how the trackways stop. Because a lot of people claim that they followed them when a track would stop, trackway would stop. And I had it
Just
happen to me.
disappear.
My daughter had a sighting. We found the trackway. I got a picture of this in my book, one of them. And and we got to the end of the trackway, which was 30, 40 feet at least. We didn't try to go to the beginning of it. We just was following it where it went, bipedal trackway. It was right after my daughter saw it, and all of a sudden stopped. I looked up at trees. I looked for a boulder. I looked for anything I could find where it could have jumped or been, but no, it didn't. It just stopped. And that's because the density stops. When they disappear, their matter is changed to energy and they have no more density, so they wouldn't leave a track. That answers that question. I've heard a lot, how all of a sudden you'll see one track somewhere, nothing else, or you'll see a series of tracks and nothing else. And that's what I think happens.
That's incredible. Yeah, so there. Mike, it's thanks for making it here, buddy. Did you have anything you wanted to throw out at
no,
Ron
I'm
here
just
before we
ready
dive
to get into
more discussion?
Listen to him. Yes. Yeah.
Mike's here. Mike's here for the ride. He's here for the education.
Fascinating, and I love it. I believe that. Yeah.
You had mentioned. I had heard you mention orbs briefly, and that's something that's always fascinating to anybody who believes in either the paranormal or Bigfoot. But you hear about eyewitness stories of people claiming to have seen bright balls of light in the areas that Bigfoot have been seen either before, after, or during the same time. They're the same moment. Is this kind of going along the same lines about the quantum element?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, light is just a form of energy. In fact, in 2016, I was up there and we saw this tube, like a fluorescent tube, except it wasn't really bright, just go floating by our tent. And we've had other lights up there, but I've never seen an elongated one like that. It's probably 3 or 4 foot long. We just watched it for several seconds. It wasn't like it's shooting by it, floating by, definitely controlled. So that's kind of weird, but nothing surprises me anymore. There's a lot of weird things going on we just don't see right now because we're limited with our eyes, as far as our visual frequency goes. It's like our olfactory sense, our smell. A bear can smell 20 times better than we can. They can smell right through a can and know if they want to eat what's in there or not. And that was shown to me by a Yosemite ranger, how they set a bunch of cans of different things out there, and the bear would come in and take just the peaches. So somebody said, well, the bear knows how to read labels. And finally they took the labels off everything and mixed them up and still just took the peaches. That's all it wanted.
Oh, there you go.
And a dog, I was going to say, a dog's hearing, it goes in the ultrasound. And that's above our hearing range. We don't hear everything. We don't see everything. We just don't know everything. And that's what I try to get across to people. We think we're the most dominant species on this planet, but we're just a species here. We do have dominion on the planet, but we're not the dominant thing, in my opinion, I think. And these things, I think, are associated with UFOs. And I get back into, because of my spiritual upbringing and my religious thoughts, which I'm not religious now, but we're all spiritual. Like I told Patrick earlier, Mike, we like it or not, we're spiritual beings. Our body's going to die one of these days, but that's just your body. You keep going. Energy can't die, according to physics. So, therefore, what happens?
Makes sense.
Well, it's fact. I mean, and like I say, Tesla said, what one man calls God, no one calls laws of quantum physics. So, laws of physics. But it's an interesting thing, and I just encourage anybody to look into it, because if you start delving into things, you find out that, wow, there's a lot more going on. If you knew how much was around you right now,
if you think about it too much, your mind will just
probably be surprised.
Start running.
Maybe that's what's wrong with
me. No, you had mentioned we're limited by our eyesight. We're limited by our hearing capabilities, so on and so forth. Do you think that we're also limited by our mind capacity to put it kind of bluntly? Are we not really truly capable of understanding what's going on out there?
No, we are capable. That's the secret here.
Okay.
We have that within us.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back into the Mesopotamian text that was given to the Sumerians deciphered it and wrote it down in the cuneiform. Have you heard of those? The tablets, clay tablets. There's over 10,000 been translated now, and you find out how that correlates with a lot of the stories that are in our Bible. But what took 6 days in our Genesis chapter, took several 100,000 years.
Right.
And that's how, and our telomeres have been limited, so we only live 120 years. Our telomeres, our DNA has been severed. So we don't live as long as the men used to live. Even in biblical days, they lived hundreds of years. But in the cuneiform, prior to the deluge, it was hundreds of thousands of years. The King's List. You've heard of the King's List, probably, haven't you?
Yeah.
In Sumerian tech, how long they live. That's why academics say, well, it's just got to be a story. It can't be true because no one can live that long. Well, why not? If these things took human form into, and they did, into the three-dimensional environment which we're in, that's what we live in. That's what we experience in, and decided to be here. But they could still live forever until they didn't. But they didn't die. They just left. It says that's their body that died, and that was a long time ago. Long
vessel, so to speak, maybe. Yeah.
Long. And I've been around. I've been down to South America and Russia, Siberia, and Bolivia, all the places, looking at this stuff. And believe me, there's been some things here that we still don't understand to this day. And it's just how they did what they did, how they moved those boulders around seamlessly. I mean, when I say seamlessly, there's no mortar in the boulders. Some of them over several hundred tons actually. We were doing 13,000-foot mountain in Ollantaytambo, where I was there, and it's just amazing when you see this stuff for yourself. Then you go to these graveyards that are out there that. Excuse me. I guess.
Oh, you're fine.
Pardon me.
Oh, you're blessed, sir. You're blessed.
Well, I got my wife to hold off on dinner. Really,
that's
I'm
awesome.
glad I came in here because I had 7 o'clock on my calendar.
No, it's all good, man. It worked out great though, because Mike, like I said, Mike was struggling to get online, so there you go. Mike, before you got here too, I sent Ron a reminder that this was his fourth time appearing on our various podcasts names, I guess. So again, I can't thank you enough. It's always a pleasure talking. Yeah.
The paranormal, the woo. They used to call me woo-wooer, years ago, which I didn't mind because it is what it is, whatever it is. And but the quantum physics is the science that's behind the paranormal and the woo. A lot of the questions that people have, like how the trackways disappear, how this happened, how that happened.
Right.
I swear I saw it disappear. I've had a lot of them say they saw Bigfoot and it just went down into a ball of light. That's not uncommon.
No.
And anyway, it's all about energy and frequency. Somehow they know how to change their frequency.
So in your opinion, Ron, and Mike, feel free to jump in anytime. Obviously, whatever pops into your mind, don't hesitate. You briefly mentioned UFOs. So what in your mind is the UFO Bigfoot connection, if any?
Okay. Well, you guys know the biblical story of Cain and Abel, right?
Yes.
Do you? Yeah. The 2 brothers, one killed the other. Well, if you start that sounds like it just happened like that. Well, you get into the Enlil and Enki in the cuneiform text. Those were 2 gods by Anu. This really just be long. That's why I wrote a book.
Exactly.
Anyway, they were the 2 that were sons of Anu, and who is the creator. There is a gosh, pretty late for me.
I do that all the time.
Lose my cognizance.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Exactly.
What's that?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and he's my co-host, and I deal with that all the time.
Well, anyway, you get into that and you see just what went on back then, because it's all written in stone, clay tablets basically, which is dried out now.
Literally in
Kinda,
stone,
sort of.
yes.
Yeah, and kind of sort of clay.
Yeah.
So it even talks about how how they altered the genome of species on this planet, mainly the troglodytes, the
Yeah.
caveman, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they was trying to create slave race. And a lot of this is in Stitchen's book, which I'm sure you guys have heard of it, but I got it, but I never read it because I didn't want to get influenced by anything like that. Because he had his theory and his ideas, and so do I. But after you study it all, he was on target with a lot of stuff. Basically, he was trying to interpret the cuneiform text, which now has been done professionally. And not that he wasn't. Anyway, get away from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot was going on with genetic modifications with our genetics from the troglodytes, because they did evolve. They've been here a long time, just like evolution says. But the different species besides the troglodytes have been modified by different aliens. Different types of aliens have been here on this planet for ages, eons and eons.
Oh, sure.
And I've seen evidence of this all over the world. And when you see this stuff going on, it wasn't just one alien come down here and do all this stuff, I just, on Malta, the island of Malta, the megaliths that are there. And anyway, they're claiming giants lifted them because they're several tons. I mean, you can't just, plus as old as they are, I mean, they're way back 3000 BCE, I think it is. So anyway, I get into that with my theory, I guess you want to call it. Why I think there's different types of these things around the world. I don't think they're all just one type. Some of them have different attributes than others. Some of them can speak, like the ones we dealt with up there, have a language, a spoken language.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, I don't know, did you hear about
No,
that,
no,
Mike?
I got it.
Should I tell you that again?
Feel free. Nope. Oh, you did? Okay. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I know that some of them have to be part human, or we're part Bigfoot, one or the other. I think some of them were created prior to Homo sapiens.
Oh,
I think
really?
we came out good. Well, except for a warring race, thanks to Enyo.
Yeah.
And Enyo, anyway, it doesn't matter. But that makes the whole species a warring race, because they were giant, they were big guys. These people, these angels that fallen. I call them fallen angels because they're aliens, really. But that's the same thing the Bible talks about in Genesis, where it talks about the fallen ones, came down here to watch men, and they ended up mingling with human women. And that's supposedly where the Nephilim came from, the giants in the Bible. And then you get in the cuneiform text, and you get further and further down that rabbit hole.
Probably not even at the bottom of that rabbit hole yet. Far away. Far away. Yeah.
Oh, not at all. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm still jumping down every step I get.
I'm just looking down the rabbit hole. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, I tell people they have to have an open mind to go down that rabbit hole. I mean,
oh gosh, yes.
This head up here on our shoulders has been conditioned. Our brain has.
Yes.
It's conditioned with what this person told us, what that person said was right and said was wrong over here. So we all have our brain pumped full of somebody else's ideas or media's ideas, or somebody is conditioning in our brain. So from the time of birth, we're being taught this language. This is not our language. This is your language. And this is not the religion. This is our religion over here. So religion is the big culprit in this whole thing, actually. The writers and all that are also conditioned. And when they see these ancient tablets, they change them to meet the king's narrative. Because it's all controlled by it's what it's for, is control and fear. That's something else I try to explain to people. The only way you get close to these things is don't have fear.
Right.
They can sense fear. A lot of animals can. My horse can sense fear.
I was just going to say, you hear that so often about, people with their horse companions and stuff. The horse will absolutely know if you're nervous about going for a ride.
Absolutely, they will. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've been kicked by a mule a few times. I don't think.
Ooh.
I wasn't afraid of him, but I just had my head turned the wrong way.
Right. Man, it happens. It happens.
He didn't care how I looked. He just wanted to kick me because I tried to load this deer on him.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Mike, when Ron came on here, too, when we were first talking, he's like, hold on, I got to get my hat. And Ron's got his awesome hat on and stuff. You know, we have like, excuse me, Mike and I kind of just joke about, you know, we've been so lucky to talk with so many, you know, awesome guests, you know, over the years. We've had people that I should say there's still people on the bucket list. And so we joke like, man, if we could have like the perfect combination, we could have a guy with like theoretical physicist Mikio Kaku's great hair. We could have a guy, Jeff Meldrum's great beard. And now we're going to have Ron Morehead's great hat. And we're going to start making just the ultimate guest, right, Mike?
Yeah, the dog was barking.
Mike, you turned your headset off so we couldn't hear the dog bark.
That would definitely be a bucket list thing for us.
Excuse me, I'm going to blow my nose. Well, yeah, I'm growing my beard out a little bit more. I usually keep it trimmed better than this, but it's about
there you go,
halfway where it's supposed to be, where I want it to be.
You know, Ron, I'm looking at my professional notes here.
Oh,
there's scribbles. It's scribbles.
Good. I got those all over my desk here.
Yeah. One thing, you know, so I want to touch some of these bullet points I have here. You know, when we're going back to like the early 1970s, you know, how you came about recording those fascinating, you know, what came to be known as the Sierra Sounds, years of interaction with, you know, Sasquatch. I wanted to ask if before like your first encounter or your first even really being necessarily aware of Sasquatch, were you a believer then before you had an encounter?
I was on the edge, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, nobody was looking for Bigfoot up there. It was a hunting camp. And Johnson has gone up there since 1958. A lot of things that happened, they just put it off as, you know, some kind of animal out there.
Something else.
It wasn't until I think Warren thinks anyway that one of them got burnt on the stove with a hot tea because they were observing what was going on in that camp. And that's the year I went up there and started getting involved with them. They were all my friends, but I wasn't.
When you got a German Shepherd and Great Pyrenees with big barks, they let it out whenever they want. Really?
Yeah, I got a Coyote Shepherd mix. Boy.
Ooh. Wow.
It's a beautiful dog. Smart. But when somebody walks up out there, if I'm napping, it's all over with.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, though, too, like Mike's dogs know precisely when he presses the record button, or he knows when they know when the podcast is happening, and because they'll usually quiet down, and then by the end of the podcast, no joke, they will start getting antsy and they start barking again because they know that like Daddy Mike is almost done.
It's that sensing thing again,
and so they get all excited. It's no joke, no exaggeration. Right. I mean, animals can sense so much stuff that we can't.
Oh,
I mean, it's amazing.
I know when Carrie, my wife, she could be a mile away and be driving home from where she's at, and the dog is being just sleeping. It'll start looking for her. They sense she's coming. You know? And that's common.
Yeah, there you go.
It's that quantum entanglement, I think.
Quantum entanglement. There you
go. Yeah. Well, I kind of related to like I'm a scuba diver also, but I used to be, and fish spooling.
Oh, interesting.
And fish, you know, spooling together, up together, flocking together, turning all at once. That's quantum entanglement. These things aren't talking to each other. They're not saying, let's all turn left at the next cloud or something. Right. They don't talk to each other. They're entangled. They're entangled with oneness that we're all supposed to, and we are too. We just don't know it.
That's an awesome analogy. I love that.
We're all supposed to be one. We are all one. We just got to connect with it all. Because I get in my last book how the pineal gland is your receptor for that oneness, and that shoots right down to your heart. So when your heart feels something, pay attention to it. I think you should, because it's your brain. It has a brain, and it will also. It should be in coherence with what's been put up here on your shoulders. But a lot of times our upstairs here will analyze things too much, and you'll say, "Well, I'm supposed to go left," where your heart said, "No, go right." But your feelings, I encourage people to go by their feelings, because that's usually what will lead you to the right thing, no matter what this says up here. Because again, it's been conditioned, and it's only gonna tell you what you've been conditioned for.
Right.
So if you don't get coherence, you do that through meditation. That's where I get into coherence, and get everything in coherent with each other. All three of those elements have to be connected. Well, they are connected. It's just a matter of making them. And that's the oneness that Christ talked about even. I wish that all could be one with the Father as I'm one with the Father. Well, he was one, and that's what we are. We're one. We just got, we've been disconnected thanks to Neil. And so anyway, we have to work our way back into that spirituality part.
I believe that you had mentioned that again in another excerpt from your book, from a book, one of your books. You write here, the quantum laws, which were brought to light in the 19th century, are the same exact thing that was taught by Jesus over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So I totally buy into that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anybody that teaches love and compassion, to me, is following the Christ consciousness, because Christ was the body. Jesus was the body. Christ was the consciousness, and he had what they call Christ consciousness. I think there are others here with Christ consciousness. That's what we're supposed to develop. We're supposed to be followers of him. And if you develop that Christ consciousness through meditation and through getting the oneness that we're supposed to be, you do that through the chakras. I won't throw anybody off here, but
I love that idea. I love that.
You get the chakras in balance, and your chi and everything, and you'll get that oneness. And everything. We don't have to wait till we die to get out of this third dimensional environment. You just have to learn how to respond to things when they come up into your.
Is that like raising your vibration, if you can, to a higher level of acceptance, or right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, acting on it is important. Like if you just want to do good things and not hurt people, because we're all got that warring mentality. I mean, it's like these guys out hunting Bigfoot. They would shoot one in a heartbeat if they saw one. But they got, if they don't understand it, they're going to kill it. And that's kind of like our species is. But a lot of us are transforming now. We're getting into the ethereal part of who we really are as a human being. And that's what I encourage people to learn, is who we really are as humans. What we're made after. The ninth dimensional beings is what I think.
So Ron, you briefly mentioned, hunters who are out kind of, to take down Bigfoot, so to speak. And that leads me to, it might be a cliched question, but where do you sit on the notion of you need to have, as far as the world of science, or even the pseudo skeptics out there, people who won't believe anything no matter what's in front of them? Do you think that they will need to have a physical body of a Sasquatch in order to finally accept its existence, or do you think that is something that will just never happen?
Well, it's not happening so far, even though there's all kinds of evidence out there. And I've offered a lot of those guys that I've been associated with free copies of my book. I doubt if they've ever read it. It's because they're conditioned. Their head's conditioned too, but they're in a professional position, academical boundaries, and they can't get out of that, or they lose credibility. So to get into a science that they're not trained in is a no-no, pretty much, for a lot of them. Now, some of them are different. John Benedict was different. I was with him in Russia and in Siberia, and he was a little more open-minded than others that I've been with. He passed away. Do you know who John Benedict was?
I totally recognize the name.
On the Vancouver Island. He was exploring Bigfoot on the island there. But anyway, there are some academics that will have an open mind, but I treat your mind like a
that's a good analogy too.
It isn't open, it ain't going to work.
That's great. Another one. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, you got to have an open mind and expand it. But then that's when you learn that you got to realize everything's within you. You know, our advancement is within you, and people are looking outside of themselves for a miracle or something, when really the miracle is you and what's in you.
And you.
Because we're all made of that image. We're all oneness with that same cognizant, same energy source. And even the Anunnaki were. That's who.
Anunnaki, yes.
That's was Enoch. He was one. And Enoch? No, not Enoch. He was great grandfather of Noah. Enki.
Oh, sure.
Enki was also Anunnaki. But those guys, they were ninth dimensional beings, and they made. I don't want to get into it. Really controversial, but in those cuneiform texts, every time God is mentioned, the word God isn't mentioned. It's gosh, I'm losing my head. I didn't eat dinner.
I'm sorry, I'm keeping you from dinner, Ron.
No, I had to stop it.
Right, exactly. That was awesome.
Oh gosh. I don't do late in the evening.
Oh no, you're good. Can you if we got like 10, 15 more minutes with you, that'd be awesome. We can.
Oh sure. Oh, don't worry about me. I'm fine.
Again,
I've got my professional notes I have to get to.
Okay,
yet, right?
let's do it.
You know, kind of, you know, bam, bam, bam here. As someone who has listened to the Sierra Sounds,
stuff.
your you know, the CDs that you put together. I mean, I devoured those. Yes, Mike and I both devoured. Not, we didn't literally eat them. I'm saying that we, you know, we mentally devoured them. And you had mentioned that like those were the Big E family that you were interacting with back in the 70s. You, without a doubt, believe and feel that they had a language, that they were utilizing the language and speaking between them. Refresh our memories here in case anyone listening right now isn't quite aware of that. Do you think that they were interacting with you with their language and perhaps hoping that maybe you would understand what they were saying?
I think they did in 1974 when I recorded them, because they were obviously asking me something. We were outside the shelter. The other tapes were pretty much made when we had our microphones outside. Outside the shelter through the log walls, and we were inside, because most of the time when they interacted with us during 71, 72 and on, and they would only interact once we went inside the shelter. You might, while we was out by the stove finishing up dinner or whatever we was doing, you might hear a big wood knock or a big whoop or something like that. That's how you knew when to go in, but in 1974, we were outside and started hearing that, and we just stayed outside. Me and Bill, we just packed supplies in with the horses' mules, and started hearing the wood cracks and rock cracks, and coded though, they were rhythmically done. And then they started whooping, and we learned from years past, just ignore them. You know, just ignore it. Keep doing what you're doing, because they'll feel safe that way. They won't. You can't shine a flashlight out there; they're going to be gone in a heartbeat. But it was a big moonlit night that night. That's the night I saw one, 1974. That's all it had been. But how do you know? I mean, now that I know what I think I know about matter and energy interchangeable, I just wonder how much of that went on while they were close to us.
Sure.
And there's times when you'd hear them walking around the shelter, and you'd think that you see the shadow going through the crack in the shelter wall. You know, logs just leaning up against the cables. And but never saw anything like that. And I wondered why, because you could hear them out there, but you don't see them. And it just, I wonder how. Plus, Al Berry was trying to see where his microphone was, because it sounded like the recordings he got were just phenomenal that one night. That's the one we got on the first CD. And it sounded like they're holding the mic, making their sounds, you know. But they weren't. They weren't. And there's been all kinds of, we had a fluorophlantic check up there by a biologist just to see if there was any, through the suggestion of a scientist, to see if there was any hidden wires or hidden nails or remnants of anything like that that could have been used. And I was up there with him 3 days, and he couldn't find anything. And anyway, he wrote, that's the Joe Hauser in the back of my book. He's got I redacted some of it because I didn't want to give away the location. But,
oh, sure, of course.
He talked about what he went through looking for, and I got pictures of him digging, trying to dig, see if there was any signs.
I know.
Excuse me.
I should skip
Mike,
out real quick.
Ron is allergic to you.
I know.
No, I'm kidding. I'm absolutely kidding.
I was on a program earlier today. I mentioned to you, Patrick. And
yes.
I had a cold.
Yep.
That's where it came from.
There, he gave it to you. Oh my gosh.
I'm not catching a cold at all. I don't hardly ever get sick. Well, that's another thing about raising your vibration. If you can do good and within your spirit, yourself.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that.
You're not going to get as sick as you usually do.
Oh, wow.
You don't catch things. And get on the right diet. Diet's very important. We eat non-GMO and we eat just good stuff.
Yeah.
Wife's a dietitian too, so she knows what's going on.
That helps.
Fresh salmon in there waiting on me.
Oh, man. Nice.
Well,
so
if you cook it right.
Yeah, right. I suppose. How often do you well, let me rephrase this. Do you often return to that same locale, your former hunting campground, or is that something that you haven't been back to for a while?
I haven't been back to since 2018 when David Paulides took him up there to film. And they reproduced that light I was talking about in that missing 401, The Hunted.
Okay, yes.
I got about 15 minutes in that CD, I think, and they really did it well. His cameraman reproduced the light going by us. And
yes.
That's pretty cool.
What do you think about what do you think about again, rapid fire questions here. I'm sorry, Ron. What do you think about Bigfoot programming in general, like the stuff that we as viewers are shown on like the Travel Channel or Discovery or any number of places? Are there programs that you think are perhaps better than the others, or do you think are they too exploitative? Or your thoughts on Bigfoot programming?
Well, I don't watch them very much, to be honest with you.
Okay.
There are some on there that you raise your eyebrows, but nowadays so much can be done with fakery. They can fake a ghost. They can fake about anything with the technology we have nowadays. Back in the 70s, we didn't have any of that technology. Just didn't. But
I think the salmon is calling Ron.
You're one out.
Are you back, Ron?
Oh, am I gone?
He's hearing us.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I hear you.
There. Now we can.
Can you hear me?
There you go. We can hear you.
That's my mic. Let me move my mic over a little better. Can you still hear me?
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Where was I?
What did I ask? Oh, your thoughts on Bigfoot programming.
Oh, I said technology we have nowadays is so good you don't know who's messing with you or not. I think a lot of those pictures could be real, but a lot of them are not real. Mm-hmm. And somebody just wants to get a lot of hits on the internet or something. But yeah, I don't know what to believe, what not to believe. I don't believe our government anymore for nothing. I don't care who's elected. Sure. I think we have, well, we'll get into politics at all. But anyway.
Why not?
So
let's see.
Go ahead.
Again, I'm firing through my notes here, and there you're back. You're back now. Yep. We were losing signal there for a second, but just about like 5 more minutes here. Mike, again, do you have any thoughts while I'm perusing my professional notes here?
And there's so much here. There's so much that I totally agree with. I mean, the spiritual, the love and compassion thing, and
yes,
it's such a huge thing. And well, yeah, exactly.
It is. It is the thing. Who we really are.
Yeah.
We're not these bodies looking at each other. We're something else going to carry on. And you have to. I believe in multiple embodiments. Wasn't raised that way at all. I was a Christian, and but I do believe what Christ said. I read the Red Letter edition because there's so much been changed from the cuneiform text, which that's the root of the Hebrew written stuff too. It's the core of so many different written languages. It's the oldest written language they know to man is the cuneiform text so far. It's 3400 BCE, I think, when they discover when they think they were made. But there's thousands of them, and they're translated them all the time. What I was going to get into, and this rubs a lot of religion wrong, and I'm not religious anymore, but we're spiritual. So there, I get into. They said, "Let us make man in our image." All my life, when I was raised, well, that means the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So, no, it was the Anunnaki, which are multidimensional beings, fallen angels, came down, and we're supposed to. Well, anyway, that's what created us. They're not all bad, though. Just the ones that stayed here and corrupted the genome, different species. Those are I say bad. They did a lot of good things. They kickstarted the Sumerians, and that's where it got our whole race kickstarted, the human race, with knowledge and technology and stuff. But anyway, when it says "let us make," I was going to say is every time the Elohim, that's the word for God. Elohim, Elohim. And that's mentioned many, many hundreds of times in the cuneiform text, but it's always in the plural form. Somehow they brought God into a singular, what created us was God. Well, they were created, the Anunnaki were considered gods, because they could do things. They could do things. I mean, things that we can't do today. Well, we can, we just haven't learned how yet. Got to get the right vibration.
Right.
So, but there is a higher universal consciousness that we're all, and that's probably the 12th dimensional God. But
do you think that that's something that the human population in general is becoming more adept to? Do you think of opening our minds, becoming, trying to, higher our vibrations? Do you think it's something that we're still struggling at in general?
Most Christians are struggling with that, and I know that because I'm acquainted with so many of them, and I understand where they're at. But the other religions, some of them, they absolutely believe in the multiple embodiments, reincarnation. Because if you don't respond to something right, you got to learn it somewhere. And if you don't learn it in this lifetime, you got to come back and learn it.
Do it again, yeah.
Yeah, again and again and again. And that's kind of rubs a lot of spiritual people wrong, or not spiritual people, but religious people wrong, because they think one entity came down here and did all this stuff. Well, the ninth dimensional beings, I got a whole chapter on manifestation code of Tesla, 369.
That's always been a big thing with me for some reason.
It was for me too. I kind of, because people make it so complicated to figure out. One day I just woke up and here it was, 369. We're here in the third dimension. When this body dies, we go to the sixth dimension. That's where we understand and know things. But after that, you got to get into what we're created to be, ninth dimensional beings. That's what the Anunnaki were.
The number. There they go.
My thoughts.
But.
Yeah. There they
go. Anyway, for many years, the combination of 369 has always meant something to me, but I didn't know what. I haven't known what. But it's always been something that's been with me as an important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tesla said if you knew that, you'd know the secrets of the universe. Well, to me, one of the secrets I was looking for is what it's all about. What's our goal? Our goal is to be like our creator. The creators were ninth dimensional beings, and they were made by God as the superior things of the universe, I think. And we're made to go there at some point if we can earn our way. If you earn that through love and compassion, I think that's where we'll be reigning as priests and kings, according to the Bible, in the hereafter, if we learn how to elevate our consciousness. But you know what? I got to tell you something else. You can do all this in this lifetime. You don't have to wait till you die to get into the fifth, go on up.
Mm-hmm.
I think you go through the fourth dimension of time, and that's where a lot of people see cloaking, because that's where your judgment is. That's where you're going to decide what embodiment you want to go into to get the experience you need, because you know what you miss. You know everything. You won't have any questions when you die. You'll know everything. And I think once you decide where you're going to go to do this, because there's other three-dimensional planets out there, I'm sure it's not just the Earth. Maybe it is. This is all my ideas. So anyway, it's not something I got hit by a light by or something. I
Right.
did get hit by a light the one time.
Oh no, that's right.
Actually, I was in high school. I was in bed. I just laying there, and all of a sudden, man, I thought
Really?
I thought the whole room was going to. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. Just a big.
That's amazing.
I couldn't even look at it straight on. So
Wow.
bright. I couldn't even roll out of bed, and I tried.
Very.
Anyway,
That's
I got
pretty.
off
That's
subject.
pretty. No, that's pretty significant. I love hearing.
Well, I've
that.
wondered what caused me to get into what I'm into, and why am I here? Probably
Maybe
to,
that.
programs like this, so I can get the word out, because that's all I'm all about. I'm in my 80s now. I don't want to. I'm not going to try to fool anybody with anything or try to prove anything to anybody. I'll tell them
Right.
what I think, and if they want to look into it, I encourage anybody just to start studying, because
Exactly.
the ones that are in the dark are the ones that just aren't looking, and, and you just got to look. And most people are too busy trying to earn a living, or just don't have the interest in it. And most of those people are church people. I hate to say that, but it's too bad, because they'll talk to a plate all day long. They don't realize you got to balance yourself, because I say talk to a plate. Give me thanks. You should give thanks for everything, but that doesn't
Yes.
mean you're supposed to. They I call them separatists, because they have separated themselves from the unity that we're supposed to have. And I don't like to come down on them, because they're good people, honest people, and you can trust them with anything. But they just got the wrong, I think, because I was there. I mean, that's where I used to be, and there's more going on. There's just more going on.
Ron, final question here for you, then we'll let you go. I know you got a great supper waiting for you, and I can't thank you enough for
every time you've been
making
on
this
has
work
been
again. We
fantastic.
appreciate it
Yep.
so much.
Thank you.
Every time.
Oh,
Every time.
Thank you. Thank you. That's nice to hear.
A lot of our listeners, and now potentially now all of a lot of our viewers on our now YouTube exclusive podcast. I know they're probably dying to hear your thoughts on the Patterson film. The legendary, most famous, alleged film footage of a living Sasquatch. To you, is that definitive proof right there of what you perhaps have reckon with?
It's not proof, but it's certainly pretty definitive. I mean, it's real, I think, and it's been studied second only to the Kennedy assassination. And
I believe it. Yes,
it's really been thoroughly examined by professionals, and no, I believe it's real. I know Bob pretty well too, and he's come by my house when I lived in San Joaquin Valley, and
oh, awesome.
visited with him when he was fixing to ride the Sierras. He thought he better talk to me if I ran into these things, because he was just at the right time doing the right thing with Roger, and they got that film. But the only reason there's a mystery behind it, or a little bit of a flag or something for some people, is because you don't ever see the original film.
I know it's been digitized so much, and it's been duped and recorded so often.
And I think it's known where the original film is, but it won't be turned loose, because it's just other things went on there that they don't want out, and that's the mystery.
Yes.
But I think Bob is telling the truth. I think it was what it showed, but there's more to it, and that's what brings in the gray area about it all. There's not any more to our sounds. I mean, it's there. It's all been studied by Dr. Kerwin, Scott Nelson,
right,
Liberman, Brown University. It's just, they are what
it is
they
what
are.
It is. Yeah.
And we got redundancy in that too, because we're all recording. So there.
Yeah, to me, to me, it's like you said, it isn't proof, obviously, but it's pretty darn close, and it's something that, like you said, even the most hardened critic, really, in a lot of ways, hasn't been able to debunk it. I mean, it's been studied and scrutinized so much. There's nothing that has definitively proven it to be a fake, is what I'm saying.
Well, I credit Al Berry for telling me what he told me. He had a master's degree in science. He used to stay with science, so I went to science. And when you got a professor of electrical engineering saying what he said about they couldn't be fake, they weren't fake, they weren't speed up, they weren't slowed down, they went above and below the human range. One bit in there represented an animal 8 foot tall, over 8 foot tall. Then you got cryptolinguist Scott Nelson, who two-time graduate of the Foreign Language Institute, said it's a language by the human definition of language. It reads a morpheme stream of words like I'm talking now. And then you got Dr. Lieberman at Brown University says only humans have the hyoid bone connected to the nervous system in the brain, so you can talk like I'm talking now. Chimpanzee, he's a cognitive research scientist. He's passed away, but he says only humans have that ability on this planet. And I think that's why I get into the Anunnaki, because they have manipulated the genome of different species, and I think we're part of that. We were created by something that gave us all our attributes that we have, the good ones. Don't tell us how many. Don't tell us how many billions of those are out there. They pretty much run the universe, I think. But anyway, there were a few that fell, called the fallen angels, and they messed with the genome of species on this planet. And there's been actually a lizard-like biped creature coming out of those Hong Song caves in Vietnam. You want to see something unique. That was reported by some locals there, but also by the war
the reptilians,
the military.
Man,
they shot at it. They think
they shot at it.
They shot it. They thought they shot it, but it just turned around and walked back in the cave. But that cave is the biggest one they've ever found. It's like a hole.
Really? That's I haven't heard of that. That's
it's a Song Dong Cave. I got a picture of it, I think, in my new book.
Wow.
But anybody wants to get a hold of me, it's ronmorehead.com.
Yes.
My books are on that same thing.
Thank you for saying that, Ron. Do you have any projects that you're working on, or are you just kind of enjoying life, expanding your mind? What is Ron Morehead up to nowadays? And yes, please go visit ronmorehead.com.
I do this. This is all I like to do.
That's what you do? Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I just started accepting a couple engagements for conferences for next year. And,
you did? Awesome.
Just did that today, but I've turned down probably 8 or 10 of them previously.
Do you ever make it? Do you make it ever Minnesota? You go Minnesota way? Because man, we'd love to meet you in person.
I think I've been up there.
Oh, awesome! Mike and I just went to the Minnesota Bigfoot conference in Brainerd about a month ago now, Mike. Already
Grand Rapids.
That was pretty enjoyable. It was fascinating.
Yep.
Wasn't it Grand Rapids? You might be right. Yeah.
Yes.
I had so much fun that I forgot what it was.
Yes, we were there.
I was at that one. I spoke at that one.
So yeah.
So yeah, I have been.
And that
there.
was fascinating.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I change my program every time I gain a little more knowledge or want to get into something else, I'll change it a little bit. So none of them are the same.
Right.
I started all off with the sounds though, because people want to hear that. That's what I'm known for, Sierra sounds. But where it took me is what I think is important, because it gets me to relate to programs like this, who we are as humans, how important we are that we respond to our experiences properly with love and compassion. And I try to say that in all my podcasts too when I'm on these things, because it's important we treat people better and stop worrying, because that's what's hurting us. That's what will hurt you as an individual too, because you can get all this done in one lifetime, or in this lifetime, I should say, because you've all been here before. I've been here before. You don't remember it, but you do.
Man, I think that is an awesome spot to end this chat. I love that quote, Ron. Again, we can't thank you enough. This has been an honor and a blast. Again. We wish you nothing but the best. We look forward to listening to you on other podcast chats, and I would be happy to send you the link to our podcast chat. You can do with it what you feel, whatever you wish.
Okay.
But Ron, thank you
Just
so much.
thank
Mike,
you
any
for
parting
everything
words
you've done
for
this,
Mr. Ron Morehead?
you know, for this whole subject, and it's gonna last for generations.
Yes.
You definitely have a legacy going.
Well, I appreciate that comment. Thank you so much
Yes.
for having me on.
Oh, you bet, Ron. Now go enjoy that salmon and say thank you to your
She's not
lovely
gonna
wife for
she's
us.
not gonna cook it till I get there. It only takes about 3 minutes. Really, I like it
Perfect.
pretty. I don't like it overcooked at all. But anyway, thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good night, Ron. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.